everybody. We're here today to do some guitar lessons, guitar chords specifically, with sound. And today we have Kevin here. He's going to be talking about chords, chord progressions, and all sorts of stuff. Really tremendous information that you're going to be getting in addition to any lessons that you're taking with us. And today is all about chords, how to play them, how to put them together, why, maybe not too much why, and all that. So without further ado, we have Kevin here who is going to take you on the magical journey of chords. Kevin?
Thank you, Dan, and it's so great to be on the Real Brave stage here in Oakland, New Jersey.
Sure.
Now with sound.
Yeah,
hello,
now
viewers.
updated with sound.
Now with sound. Hello, viewers. Today we're talking about chords. And first, what is a chord? A chord is 3 or more notes, right? And I'm going to avoid talking about the theory. Those of you who know me know I'm a big theory nerd, and so I'm going to try my best to steer clear of that and just tell you that it's 3 or 4 notes, any 3 or 4 notes, they all are chords. Even this one. Even this one. Even this one. But we're not going to talk about those. We're going to talk about the basics. We're going to talk about the regular open chords. And now, these are the chords. So if you've ever taken a first lesson with me specifically, this will all feel and sound very familiar because this is the first lesson I give to my guitar students. And the reason is the easiest way to hit the ground running with guitar, because listen, learning music, it's a process, right? It's a journey. It can be a long journey, and it takes a little bit of patience. But this, with these handful of chords, pun intended, we can definitely, right out of the gate, start playing music. So let's first jump into. I talked about what is a chord, 3 or more notes. Let's talk about how to make a chord, and to do that, let's talk about chord diagrams. Dan, if you could pull up the first slide. The very neatly drawn and artistic rendering of a human hand and a guitar head and neck. So on the left there is a chord diagram. And we look at it on the page as if we're looking at the head of a guitar, the front of the guitar, head on, just like this, right? So we've got strings are the vertical lines, and from left to right we've got E, A, D, G, B, and lowercase e to denote that it is the high E string. And I say high because it's high pitched, not high vertically when we hold the guitar. It's technically the bottom, but we talk about pitch. We have a low E and we have a high E. This part right here, that's the nut. That's where the strings are routed to the tuners. And if you pluck the string without any fingers on it, it resonates from the nut, and you have an open string. That is denoted by the little O. It's not a circle, that is an O that stands for open above the nut. If you see an X above the nut, that means don't play that string. That string does not exist anymore. And we have the tuning heads, E, A, D, G, B, E again. And now if you look below, we'll see on one of the strings, in fact the high E, we have a circle and a number. The circle tells you to put a finger on that string right before that fret, and the number inside the circle tells you what finger to use. For guitar, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 fingers. So this is telling me to use my second finger. Now I'm going to use terms interchangeably. I'm going to say first finger, second finger, third finger, fourth finger. I'm also going to say pointer or index, middle, ring, pinky. It all means the same stuff. Second finger, middle finger on the 3rd fret, and by on, I mean right before the 3rd fret on the high E string. You get that pitch. All right, so now that we've talked about how to read a chord diagram, let's actually look at some real ones, and we'll pull up now the Chord Road Map. Now these are 8 chords. I know it sounds like a tall order, so we're just going to take it one at a time. These 8 chords, you can play 90% of rock or pop or folk or country music, actually probably 100% of country music. In fact, these are also known as the cowboy chords. These are chords you sit around the campfire and you go with your 10-gallon hat and your spurs and your can of beans. These chords will allow and facilitate all of that stuff, right? So let's just dive right in. We're going to look at the first chord. It is an E major chord. And we can see, looking at the diagram, that we've got 3 fingers on this one, 1, 2, and 3, or in order from left to right, 2, 3, and 1. So our second finger, or our middle finger, goes onto the 2nd fret of the A string. Our ring finger goes to the 2nd fret of the D string. And our index finger is going to go to the 1st fret of the G string. And just those 3 notes alone is a chord. But you'll notice also that we've got those O's above the strings, above the nut. And that means that those E, B, and E are also open. So this chord is all 6 strings right there. Now a little bit of notes on technique. You'll notice that my fingers are arched. I'm pressing the strings just before the frets. I'm not on the frets, and I'm not way far back. It's right before the fret. That's how I'm going to get the best resonance out of the strings. My thumb is toward like the middle of the back of the neck, below, and so providing support for all my other fingers there. My fingers are arched so that they're coming from above, not behind, so that they don't actually accidentally block the strings. Proper technique says coming from above. And that's why my thumb is so low. It's going to allow my fingers to arch more. My wrist is straight but relaxed. I'm not contorting any sort of way to try to orient my fingers. It's nice and relaxed but firm grip right there on the chord there. And that's my E major chord. Now, we're going to move on to the next chord, and now we can pull up the second slide, E major to A minor. This is not a theory. There's no theory. There's no music theory behind these switches. It's purely geographical as far as the fretboard goes. So what I like to do is I like to try to find the closest relationship between the chords and move in that relationship. So you'll notice that the shape of your fingers, the shape and order of your fingers is the same for both of these chords. You got 2, 3, 1 on the E. You've got 2, 3, 1 on the A, but each finger is moved down 1 string. And the only other difference on this one here is that you'll see the X above the low E string, which means we do not play that string. So we're going to strum this one from the 5th string down. So we're moving each of our fingers down 1 string, and we strum from the A string down now. And we have an A minor chord. Again, arched fingers, fingertips. I can show you where, which camera? This one. I can show you where the indents on my fingers are, and you'll see that that's the imprint of where the string is. It's kind of diagonal going toward my fingernails, and that's fine. And that's my A minor chord. So far 2 chords. And we'll talk in future broadcasts about the mechanics of moving quickly and fluently between each chord, but right now we're just mapping it out so that we know what each chord is and how to get there. For the next chord, we only need to move 1 finger, and you can see this in the next slide. We're moving from A minor to C major, and all I have to do is move my ring finger and reach it up to the 3rd fret of the A string. And again, X above the E string means don't play it. So I've got 3, ring finger on the 3rd fret of the A, middle finger on the 2nd fret of the D, open G, index finger still on the 1st fret of the B, and open E. Now I strum it from the 5th string down. Here's my C major chord. Now a lot of people might start with this chord because it's C major and there's a whole lot of theory as to why it's like the chord. But again, not a theoretical map, it's a geographical map of the fretboard. So just with the 3 chords that we've got so far, C, E major, A minor, that's probably a song. I don't know what song it is, but it sounds familiar, doesn't it? Kinda. Between the last 2, C major and A minor, there we've got little Leonard Cohen, Hallelujah. Probably a whole bunch of other songs too. We'll keep going now. So we're moving now from C major. When I talk about chords, sometimes I'll talk about anchor points, right? So an anchor point is a commonality between two chords where that finger doesn't move. So anchor points between A minor and C would include middle, and index finger, right? So these two don't move, ring finger moves. There's an anchor point between the next two chord group, which is C major to E minor. That anchor point is the middle finger. So that one's going to stay on, and then I'm going to bring my index finger to the second fret of the A string, and then you'll see the open. Every other string is open, E, G, B, and E. And that's my E minor chord. So there's the motion again from C major, keeping my middle finger down. That's going to guide me to E minor. Now, what I'm showing you right now, there's lots of different ways to play chords. I can play E minor with my first two fingers, my second two fingers, my third and fourth finger. This is rare, but it does serve a function that we'll eventually get to. But just for the purpose of what we're doing right now, just meeting and understanding and placing the chords, this is how we're going to do this one. Fun fact, the last two chords, the intro to Space Oddity. Ground control to major tom. Ground control to major tom, I think. Moving right along, no anchor points between the next two chord group, which, by the way, is E minor to A major. There's no anchor points here. This is the vertical one, if you see it in there. But we are going to start by just keeping this shape, this relative position of index and middle finger. We're going to move it down one string. We're going to now add the ring finger to the third fret of the B string. And we'll notice the X above the E, the low E, and we'll strum from the A string down. And then we have a nice, happy A major chord. Now with this one, you'll recall me saying that you want to try to get as close to the fret as possible, and that operative term there is as possible, because with three fingers on three consecutive strings all along the same fret, it's kind of impossible to get them all close together just like that. And we're not going to talk about bars yet, but for an A major, it's okay to have them sort of stacked diagonally to where you can still hear each note. First two chords right there is moving from E minor to A. Run, rabbit, run. Pink Floyd fans, I'm sorry. Dig that hole, escape the sun. Right, so already we're seeing a lot of two chord relationships in popular music. With I guess the five that we've gone over so far, I'm sure there's an algorithm online where you could just put in 5 chords and see which songs use them, and there's a bunch. Moving to the next chord in the sequence, we're going to A major. We're from an A major. Here's where we are. And we'll notice that we're really crammed in here in the second fret. Our ring finger wants to escape so badly. So we're going to let him. He's going to creep up to the third fret. Now we got room to breathe. We're not done yet. We're going to move our middle finger all the way to the bottom string, second fret, keep it on the second fret, and we're going to move our index finger down one string. Now we've got the chord shape. We're going to not strum the top two, the low two strings. We're going to strum this one from the D string down. We've got a D chord. And wouldn't you know it, that's all it is. Between E, A, and D, that's our 12-bar blues. Between E, D, and C, that's along the watchtower, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's a D major chord. Once again, A major. Scoot a ring finger up a fret, bring the other 2 fingers down. We're at D major. Now this next one is, there's the least, I would say, connection between the D major and the next chord we're going to. But we can still sort of draw a lot of relationships. First, we're going to start by ring finger going down a string. Our middle finger is going to mirror it. So it's going to reach all the way to the top string, going to the 3rd fret. Our index finger is going to want to tag along there, but he's not going to quite make it. He's going to fall short 1 string and 1 fret. And here we have arrived at G major. Now, if you're a fan of country or folk, this might be where you want to start with this word map, which is cyclical, by the way. And you might see lots of different fingerings, or one in particular different fingering for this one, where it just uses the pinky down to the bottom string. And that's totally acceptable given a certain context. But for what we're doing, again, D major to G. Now, to our last chord in the sequence, we're going to bring these top 2 fingers, we're going to bring them down 1 fret. Down 1 string and back 1 fret. Ring finger, which moved along with them, is going to move up 2 strings, so it's now at the 2nd fret of the G string. We got the introduction of the pinky finger. Hello, pinky finger. I know you've been waiting to use the pinky finger. We're very excited to plop it down. 2nd fret of the E string. We've got an open B and a not strummed E, and that brings us to B7. Now, B7 sort of might seem like it doesn't really have a place in this, but it does, both theoretically and geographically, as we see here. Lots of songs that use this, but that's our B7. 7 chord is like, it's bluesy, it's got a bluesy feel to it. There's a lot of application of it, a lot of theoretical application of it too. But that's it, that's how you play it. So middle finger, 2nd fret of the A, index finger, 1st fret of the D, ring finger, 2nd fret of the G, open B, pinky finger, 2nd fret of the E. Strummed from the A string down. And we got 1 more to go, 1 more switch to go. We're going to throw our pinky out of here. We're going to switch our ring finger with our index finger as far as where they are on the strings. And now we'll find that we've come full circle back to E major. Now, at this stage in the game, you should be aiming for some good tone, and that comes from applying that arched finger technique, thumb in the middle of the back of the neck, fingertips used to press down on the strings just before the frets. As we go forward, tone becomes less important than the actual mechanics of moving from chord to chord, because that tone, with enough practice, will resurge and be nice again. But just to recap where we've gone, where we've been and where we went and where we are again: E major, A minor, C major, E minor, A major, D, G, B7, E. Almost all of the chords that we just went over through were right there. Again, 90% of music now you'll be able to play with these chords. That's a really quick way to get out of the gate and to play some music. Is there more to the story? Absolutely. Is this the tip of the iceberg as far as chords go? Yes. There's much more we could go on into. We're not even talking about the right hand really that much. We're just talking about how to place these chords. But it's a really good start for anybody interested in just playing music, you know. And that's I think that's about it, Dan. I don't know. I could ramble on for a little while longer.
You could. You very well could. That was a really good intro to chords, but more importantly, it was an intro to like where to place them, right? So after you figured it out, it's like, what do I do with these things? There's a whole theory behind why these chords work together, which we're not going to talk about.
No.
You're just gonna. I think it was a good idea to talk about some famous songs. Why they work together, or how the chords are the chords that you were showing everybody how they like work in that song. And yeah, once you get a couple together, it's kind of like riding a bike. You'll be able to play them forever.
Can we try something?
Sure, we can always try something.
Name a song, and if I know it, I'll try to play it using those 8 open chords.
You know I have brain farts when it comes to this stuff.
Oh man.
Let's see.
Any song.
Any song. Name any song.
Maybe not riff heavy, but maybe more like.
Oh, all right. So easy. Let it be.
Okay, so. When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me. That was G, D, E minor, C. Is that the actual key of the song? No, because we're missing one very important chord that's not.
We're not going to play that today.
We're not playing that one today.
No. It's hard. It's a hard chord.
But you could very well G, D, E minor, C, which is also country roads take me home to the place where I belong.
What about like Believer by Imagine Dragons?
Believer, believer.
Yeah. What about that Ed Sheeran ripoff song of Marvin Gaye?
Yes. Yeah. Na 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 na.
Yep. So as you can see, pretty much the basis of.
Yeah, loosely, you could play that song with D, G, and A.
Right.
D over F sharp notwithstanding.
Right. So the whole point of this is that every single one of these songs is based in chords that somebody sat down and started playing, started singing over, and then the process of writing a song begins. Pretty much everything that you know. Besides, can you really put classical music in that category too? They don't start with chords, they start with melody, don't they? And bass notes?
It depends. You could infer chords based on like a figured bass melody with a bass line, a contrapunctus bass line.
Oh, excuse me. Yes. Something came out of your mouth.
Sorry. But yeah, no.
God bless you.
There's chords in all classical music, mostly. Da, da, da.
There it is. There's a chord. Maybe an F. So you see where we're getting at here? So like this is the cornerstone, the foundation of composition sometimes, where you can just start playing some of these songs and it really is a great gateway to music.
Yeah.
So that said, gateway to music, that ends today's lesson in chords.